Hi, everyone. Dr. Will here. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about and give a new technique called uncomfortable into comfortable, or how to get out of the comfort zone in an exciting way that makes it more appropriate. Because have you ever heard that stupid saying that we always give 110% effort? 100% effort's not enough here. Well, when you hear that, it brings to mind a couple of things. A, it sounds good, but B, it's counterproductive to long-term true success. Because if you're just giving your absolute maximum, like 100%, which by the way is your absolute maximum, if you think your maximum bench press is 100 pounds and you say, I'm going to do 110, 110% of maximum, well, you do it. That means your maximum now your 100% is 110 pounds. But it's not that you can't keep growing. It's just that I think it's one of these things that we misconstrue in our heads. But the real point is the fact that if you're always giving your absolute best, you're leaving no room for you to grow on the inside. And what I mean by that is when you see a truly, truly elite performance, they make it look effortless. Are they giving 100%? I doubt it. Because if you understand the way your brain works, once things go on an autopilot, it frees up your brain. You can do different things. If you understand how habits really work, there's a cue, and then you go into the routine, which is whatever you would call the habit, and then you get whatever the reward is. Well, while you're developing a habit or learning a new skill, your brain's going crazy. You're thinking, you're working so hard, you're working so hard, you're working so hard. And then at each time you do it, each time you become more comfortable with it, your brain begins to shift till it finally gets to the point. You get the cue. Your brain almost goes to sleep as you start doing what you got to do because you're not consciously thinking about it, and you end up getting to the reward. But what happens in that time where your brain goes to sleep, your brain can do different things. When you look at again, like let's use an athlete, when they're in their high performance mode, they're making it look effortless. Are they giving 100% of their effort? People say, oh yeah. Well, not really, because what's beginning to happen is they're on autopilot for a lot of what they're doing, so their brain can free up to see what they need to see to make things look even more elegant at a different level. Because anyone that's ever been around sports or performing artists know it's the law of reverse effect that we always know about in hypnosis, but it's true in a lot of things. The harder you try, the harder it becomes. So if you're giving your absolute maximum effort and you're really, really thinking about it, it's kind of what happens when you're taking a test and you're so focused on what's happening, you can't think. You want to free your brain up to do what it does best. And to do that, you have to begin to understand how things really work. One of the best things a coach ever said was, go fast, but don't hurry. What? Well, go fast, but don't hurry. I think it was John Wooden said that about basketball, and he run 11 out of 12 championships, in the NCAA. But what he meant was, don't overhurry yourself, because once you go to that level, you free yourself to do better things at a better speed, at a better clip, and this is what we want to do. And the way you do that is, again, there's that idea of no pain no gain, no pain no gain. It's one of these we always talk about where it sounds good, and it comes basically from the bodybuilding weightlifting world, that you got to go through this pain to get this growth. But what begins to happen, people confuse that and they end up hurting themselves. They end up doing stupid things. Well, because I heard no pain no gain and it hurt. Well, what if the hurt is your body saying, don't do this, stupid? This is not right. Your shoulder's injured. I'm always hearing people that they're doing a bench press or they're doing some exercise and they get the twing, but I'm going to work through it because remember, no pain, no gain. Well, their body's telling them, shut it down. But no, I'm going to plow through this because that's what we do. And they end up ripping a rotor cuff, tweaking a disc, blowing an ACL, whatever it happens to be. Because again, when you see the really elite performers, they know there's a time to just back off, just back off. If you ever been around people that train horses or dogs, and actually I would say people, there's a concept of you always leave on a good note. The horse has done something really well. Now's the time to stop. If you're pretty close to the ending, don't go and don't let it end on a bad note. You see good Good coaches know how to do that. But then and if unfortunately you've been around bad coaches, then you've internalized this kind of idea that no pain, no gain. I have to give 110% of my effort. If I'm not giving absolutely everything, I'm not trying. Well, what we want to do is get to the level of pushing your brain in a different direction, of making things easy. Because when things are easy, you can do it for longer. The other thing, if you're giving 100% of your effort, either physically or psychologically or mentally, you only have so much of an energy span for this to go on. And then you're going to burn out. If you're operating at 75 or 80%, and your 75 or 80% is better than everyone else's 100%, you could do that for much longer because you're not depleting the stores of whether it's, your brain chemicals, your brain sugar, blood sugar, so your brain or your body or whatever it is, you can go for longer periods of time, right? And so what you want to do is begin to build to that. And what I wanted to show you is this idea that some of these things, we fall in love with the sayings, and I think we all say it, no pain, no gain, da, da, da. And usually it's somebody telling you to do something painful for their benefit, right? It's kind of, I don't want to do that. It hurt. Oh yeah, no pain, no gain. No, yeah. But it usually, it's like for their benefit, so they don't care if you hurt, right? So what I want you to do is thinking about it slightly differently, right? To make your brain work on autopilot, you want to develop different habits. I just did a habit course, and your life isn't, and your success isn't decided by your willpower, by your focus, by your effort. It's decided on your habits. Do you have habits for success? If you develop those, because then once you get into the thing, you're going to do what you need to do, and you're not burned out at the end of the day. It's kind of like, when you first learn, all my people here that do hypnosis and NLP, when you first learn therapy and you're really thinking and you're concentrating, you're doing, at the end of a day, 5 or 6 sessions, you're like exhausted, right? Then once you get into it and you're not thinking about it that much, you just know what to do and when to do it, da, 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 da. At the end of the day, you may be a little tired, but you're not just depleted because you weren't operating at 100% capacity, because that's what we want to do. We want to get more comfortable with it. And to do this, there's that other saying about you need to go, you need to push through your comfort zone. You need to step out of your comfort zone. What if we flip that around? What you want to do is make these things that you need to do in your comfort zone. Now, this is the flip that you have to begin to think about, because how many things in your life were uncomfortable when you first started doing it? And then once you started doing it, it became comfortable. What happens, this goes back to your neurology again, you're making these clicks in your head, which actually help you get even better, because now it's comfortable. So now you're not fighting it, because if it's really, really uncomfortable, you're going to fight it. And we don't want you to continue to fight it. We want you to relax and go with it. And so what we want to do is realize that it's not so much stepping out of your comfort zone, it's putting things into your comfort zone. So here's a flip you could do. Think about something that you had to learn how to do that you're very comfortable about doing. I'm going to call this comfort flip. Think, and I'll use driving a car for most of us here in the U.S. You almost have to drive everywhere, but it could be anything. But you had to learn how to do it, and when you first did it, you had to think about it, right? You were thinking. Now it's like, no big deal. So think about that experience and step into it and remember what it feels like when you could just do it. If I had to run and jump in the truck, I could do it. If I still had the little sports car, I could jump in that. It would take a second to adjust, and then I'm ready to go. Because jumping from that little sports car to that big old truck, that took a little bit of an adjustment. But I was comfortable in either one. It's kind of like the time I bought a motorcycle, and my wife dropped me off at the dealership. She says, well, I'll come back. You look around. I'll come back and pick you up. And I went, no, honey, it's okay. I'll have my own ride home. And she just like rolled her eyes, because she knew that meant I was going to buy a motorcycle. And I remember when I first got on it, and I hadn't rode a motorcycle in quite a while, a couple of years. And the guy says, well, here, take it out. It was a Harley Davidson Sportster. And I'm like, and I got on. And then as soon as I started, I'm just like, wait a minute. I did what we're talking about. You know, you were driving motorcycles long before you drove cars. You've had a motorcycle most of your adult life. Just relax, go back into that feeling of comfort, and then it became easy. So when you get into that feeling of ease, of something that you learned how to do that now you're comfortable with, kind of lock that into your body. Lock that into your body. And now if you want to add a new skill, you want to make it comfortable. You know, again, if you want to be an elite performer, stage hypnotist, professional speaker, or trainer, yes, you want to make it look effortless. The true elite performers make things look effortless. What you don't see behind the scenes is the steps they did to make it look effortless. Now that is what we're talking about here. And what begins to happen is your brain adapts to the idea that to get comfortable with driving a car, you probably put in dozens of hours of driving, if not hundreds, before you became very comfortable with it. Whatever it is that you're doing. It took me a couple hundred hours of training before it just set in and I could do it without even thinking about it. So what I want you to do is think about that feeling of comfort. Now, as you're thinking about this new skill and you want to add it to this comfort zone, it's not that you're stepping out of your comfort zone. You're bringing this thing that you're afraid of, that you think you have to step out of your comfort zone. You're giving yourself the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious permission to bring it into your comfort zone, knowing that much like the things you did in your past, it's going to take some time and some effort to have it become seamless so it's easy. But your brain knows how to do this. And then if you do it this way, if you do it the way that this is set up, what begins to happen with this flip is your brain will look for markers where, oh, doing this is a lot like this, right? It's why I've heard people that train stage hypnotists say they always like it when someone that wants to become a stage hypnotist has studied magic, or they're a singer or a comedian, or even an actor, somebody that understands staging, timing, pacing, things like that. Because what happens, it looks like they pick up the skills quicker. Do they really pick up the skills quicker? Well, they're aligning it with things they already know how to do, right? And there's not a lot in the human experience that's so totally new. Your brain can't align with things that you already know how to do. So instead of making it out there difficult, where I got to give 110% of my effort and, plow through it, no pain, no gain, your brain begins to flip it around, and now you can go toward it in a different way and let your brain look for markers where, oh, okay, driving this is a lot like driving that. So your brain knows how to do it. Speaking to a group is one of the things we do when we teach people to train and speak in front of groups. If you can speak to one person pretty comfortably, you can speak to a group. Your brain knows how to do it. It's just now you've separated it in a different way and placed it in a different category in your brain. Rather than think, okay, there's 100 people in the room, I'm actually just speaking to 100 individuals. You picture 100 people, not 100 individuals. And so you know how to speak one-on-one. When you first start, make eye contact. It goes against what a lot of really bad professional speaker trainers would tell you. No, make eye contact. Talk to this person. Then talk to that person. Realize it's just a bunch of individuals, right? That yes, they take on a group phenomenon and a group dynamic, but you're speaking to the individuals, okay? So your brain knows how to do that. And if you flip that around, it becomes much, much easier. And then you're not doing the stupid thing like, oh, you just got to plow through it and this and that, right? You want to begin to do this. And with this, you also know that you have to be kind to yourself and know that you can only give maximum effort for a certain amount of time, right? And your goal is to get yourself so your 70, 80% effort is phenomenal compared to everybody else. When your normal game is better than their best game, then you're on your way. And that's what truly long-term success is all about. You'll see an actor that'll be in a mediocre movie or play, but if they're a really good actor, they make it look easy even in a difficult situation, right? So what we want to do is do that. So again, step into the comfort, something that you had to learn how to do that you're comfortable with. Lock it in, feel it in your body. Maybe a color pops to mind. I really love colors. Color pops to mind. And where in your body do you feel it? Great. Now think about the skill that you need to learn, that you want to get comfortable with, right? that you're uncomfortable with, that you think you have to step out of your comfort zone to do, and notice the differences, and then bring this new skill into your comfort zone and lock it in, right? And then you let your brain will begin to look for similarities in this new thing like the old thing. And so it begins to shift, it begins to do different things, right? Because your brain is a warehouse of information. You have so many experiences that you can draw on to make yourself better at everything else, right? So you have to give yourself the permission to do it. You know, I've heard people say one of the hardest things that people have to do is give themselves the permission to succeed, you know? And then I would stress the next level hardest is to give yourself permission to succeed easily. You know, it's just too easy for you. What's wrong with that, right? And again, I think as Les Brown says, the problem is most people don't aim too high and miss. Most people aim way too low and they actually hit it, right? And so what you want to do is begin to pick the things that you want to make comfortable for you strategically. You know, there are things that maybe you want to keep uncomfortable. You know, if you're in recovery from alcohol or drugs, you may want to be uncomfortable around situations where there's alcohol or drugs going on. You know, yeah, maybe you could make yourself comfortable for many years. If you're an active alcoholic or addict, you were very comfortable there. Then something switched. Now it's uncomfortable. Maybe you want to keep it comfort because you keep it uncomfortable because that uncomfort is a warning sign. Much like if you're training really hard and something begins to hurt and it feels funny, your body's talking to you. You know, it's not just a muscle wearing out, it's something hurting. And you always hear the elite personal trainers that actually understand physiology, which most of them don't. They'll tell you there's a difference between this is hurting in the joint as opposed to this is hurting, you know, like in the muscle. So what you want to do is begin to make those changes internally and begin to become your own self-referencing guide in a lot of things that you do. And once you do that, things get much, much easier. So that's my thing I'm calling the uncomfort into comfort flip, and to turn your brain into so you can begin to develop habits for success, because your brain already knows how to create a habit. It just takes you know, the cue, the reward, and the routine. It's actually the cue, the routine, and the reward. So why not begin to do it, you know, and end just like training an animal or students, by the way, end on an up note. Things are going great. Now's the time to end it. You know, you always want to end your performance, as they say, leave them wanting more, right? You don't want them looking for the door. I heard a director say that. I want my audience to want more, not be looking for the door. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm going to remember that. So take all this inside and begin to process it. And again, you know, I've got some new things coming up. I've redone the basic NLP. It's got quite a bit of new stuff in it, reformatted, different ideas, different things, building. I always say the basic skills are the basic skills, but I've added some things. I've systemized some things differently, and I've made it much more effective across the board. And that's going to be presented for the first time next month. I'm talking here in July 2018, in August, or first part of August 2018, at the National Guild of Hypnotists Convention. I will be presenting the new basic and the new master NLP, which is after the conference. The basic is always before, and the master is after. Now that is about 50 to 60% all new. In fact, I've added a day to the training because I've put in a lot of NLP coaching, elite coaching built into it. So I'm changing the format, how it is. Of course, our master NLP and NFNLP training is a lot of waking hypnosis, a few advanced techniques, but mostly waking hypnosis. And now it's going to have a lot of NLP life coaching aspects to it built in. So as you go through the class, you actually do the techniques, just like everything, so they become comfortable, so you can learn even more. So if you're available, you might want to come down and audit if you've already taken the basic and the master NLP. If not, keep an eye out. I'm going to be doing it again in the fall to refilm it. And all my trainers are going to have to audit the new class because I'm changing the format. Things are updated. You can't keep teaching old material. You got to have new material. And so that'll be a requirement coming soon. And so why not jump on board early? So I'd like to thank you, and we'll see you as we trudge the road to happy destiny.